The smell of ozone and hot steel never really left my hands. It stayed under my nails and in the cracks of my skin long after the shop lights shut off. At 3 in the morning, my garage on the edge of Detroit was quiet except for rain hammering the metal roof and the soft ticking of cooling engines. I stood there alone, running my thumb over a fresh weld on the fender of a 1967 Mustang, feeling the smooth line where broken metal had been made whole again. Most people saw rust and failure. I saw stories. I saw things that had been pushed too hard and still survived. That was the night everything changed, even though I did not know it yet. Headlights cut through the rain on the highway below my shop. They flickered once, then disappeared as a boxy van drifted onto the shoulder. A second later, weak hazard lights blinked through the storm like a quiet call for help. I hesitated only a moment before grabbing my jacket and the keys to my tow truck. I told myself it was just another breakdown, just another problem to solve. I was wrong. The rain hit hard as I stepped outside, soaking my clothes in seconds. The van was old but cared for, painted a deep green with gold lettering that read, Baker Logistics. Someone had loved this vehicle once. I hooked the winch cable while water ran down my face and into my eyes. When the driver's door opened, a woman stepped out carefully, almost slipping in the mud. She did not panic. She did not beg. She closed the door firmly and turned to face me like she was ready for bad news. Her coat was soaked, clinging to her frame. Auburn hair stuck to her neck, darkened by rain. When she lifted her chin, water rolled down her face, and she did not wipe it away. "I don't have cash for a tow," she called over the storm. Her voice was calm and steady. "And I'm not leaving the inventory in the back." Something about the way she said it made me pause. No excuses. No fear. Just facts. "I didn't ask for cash," I said. My voice sounded rough even to me. "My shop is half a mile up. Your alternator's dead, and your belt snapped. You're not going anywhere tonight." She studied me in the rain, my grease-stained jacket, my worn boots, a stranger offering help without a price. Finally, she nodded once. "I'm Eleanor Baker," she said, "and if you scratch the bumper, I will bill you." Despite myself, I smiled. "Keon," I said, "I fix old metal." I towed her van into my shop, steam hissing from the engine as water streamed off the frame. Under the bright lights, the damage was obvious. Eleanor stood near my workbench, arms folded tight as she shivered, but she watched every move I made. She was not afraid of the tools or the mess. She was paying attention. When I opened the hood, my jaw tightened. The alternator was freshly painted silver, but it was a lie. The belt was burned. The water pump was locked solid. "Who serviced this?" I asked. "Bry Moore," she said, like the name tasted bitter. "He manages my fleet. Charged me $3,000 for a full overhaul this week." I scraped the paint from the alternator with a rag. Rust showed through instantly. "He didn't overhaul anything," I said. "This is old junk. Your water pump seized and took everything with it." Eleanor stepped closer, staring at the metal in my hand. "Are you sure?" she asked. Instead of answering, I showed her. The truth did not need many words. She pulled out her phone and took photos. Her hands steady. Too steady. Like someone used to keeping control when things fell apart. "Can you fix it?" she asked. "I have a contract this weekend. This van has to run." I should have been honest. I should have told her the risk. Instead, I said yes. "I'll have it ready," I said, "by Tuesday." Her shoulders relaxed just a little. "I can pay for parts now," she said. "Labor later. I don't take charity." "I don't offer it," I replied. She stayed that night, wrapped in an old blanket, working on her laptop in the corner of my office. I learned she owned a small delivery fleet, built by her father before he passed. I learned Bry Moore controlled her service contracts and used them like a leash, and I learned she was running out of time. Over the next few days, I worked nonstop. Every van told the same story. Cheap parts, fake repairs, dangerous shortcuts. Eleanor documented everything, her face growing harder with each discovery. "He's been bleeding me dry," she said quietly one night. "If I fight him, he calls in the contract and destroys me." "You're not wrong to fight," I said. You're wrong to fight alone. She looked at me then, really looked at me. Something shifted between us, quiet and heavy. By Friday, we had proof. Real proof. Illegal parts, fake invoices, safety violations that could have killed someone. When Bry found out, he threatened her. Banks froze accounts. The city pulled its contract. I watched Eleanor stand in the middle of my shop, shoulders squared, fear in her eyes but fire behind it. "I'm done being scared," she said, "even if I lose everything." That was the moment I stopped seeing her as a client. We took everything to the authorities. We waited, and late one night, her phone rang. "They arrested him," she whispered. "It's over." She did not cry. She just stood there, breathing, like someone who had finally set down a weight they carried for years. After that, the silence felt strange. The fight was gone, but something remained between us. Something neither of us named. One morning, Eleanor handed me an envelope. Inside was a partnership agreement. Clear, thoughtful, careful. "I trust you," she said, "with the business and with me." My heart beat harder than it had in a long time. I had fixed her vans, helped save her company. But what she was offering now was something else entirely. And standing there in that quiet shop, smelling oil and coffee and rain, I realized this story was no longer just about machines or battles or survival. It was about what happens when two broken things meet and decide to hold together. That was the beginning, and I had no idea how far it would go. The days after Brymore's arrest felt unreal, like the world had shifted slightly to the left and I was still learning how to stand in it. The shop was quieter now, not because there was less work, but because the pressure that had lived in the walls had finally lifted. The vans came and went without drama. Engines ran clean. Paperwork stopped bleeding red numbers. Eleanor showed up every morning like clockwork, but she moved differently now, slower, like she was letting herself feel tired for the first time in years. I told myself to keep things professional. Partner, mechanic, business. Simple lines. But life does not care about clean lines. One evening, after we closed the shop, she stayed behind while I finished locking up. The sun was low, throwing long orange light through the dusty windows. She stood near the old Mustang I was restoring, running her fingers lightly over the curve of the fender. "You treat them like people," she said. "Like what?" "The cars," she replied. "Like they matter." "They do," I said. "They carry stories." She nodded, quiet for a moment. "My dad used to say the same thing. He said machines remember how they're treated." That was the first time she talked about him, without tension tightening her voice. We started staying late more often, not always working. Sometimes just sitting on overturned crates with takeout boxes between us, talking about nothing important and everything at once. She told me about growing up in Ohio, riding in delivery trucks, memorizing routes before she could drive. I told her about dropping out of engineering school when my mom got sick, about learning metal instead of formulas. Somewhere in those conversations, the space between us closed. The first touch was accidental, or at least we pretended it was. Her hand brushed mine while reaching for a wrench. Neither of us pulled away right away. She looked up at me, eyes steady, unreadable. "You okay?" I asked. "Yes," she said. I just forgot what calm feels like. I should have stepped back. I didn't. The kiss happened a week later, on a night heavy with summer heat. The power went out during a storm, leaving the shop dark except for lightning flashes through the windows. We stood near the door, listening to rain crash down hard and fast. "This place saved me," she said softly. "You saved me." I shook my head. "You saved yourself." She stepped closer, close enough that I could smell rain in her hair. "Maybe," she said, "but you stayed. That was all it took." The kiss was slow, careful, like we were both afraid of breaking something fragile. When we pulled apart, she rested her forehead against my chest, breathing steady. "This changes things," she said. "I know." Neither of us sounded sorry. We did not rush. We learned each other in quiet moments. Morning coffee before the shop opened. Late nights balancing accounts and teasing each other over mistakes. She laughed more now, real laughter that surprised even her. But peace never lasts without a price. 2 months later, the lawsuit began. Bry Moore's lawyers moved fast. They challenged evidence, threatened countersuits, claimed Eleanor had sabotaged her own fleet. The stress came back sharp and familiar. I watched it settle into her shoulders again, watched her sleep shorten, and her smiles fade. One night, she broke. We were in my office, papers spread everywhere. She dropped into the chair and covered her face with her hands. "I can't do this again," she said. "I don't have it in me." I knelt in front of her. "You're not doing it alone." She looked at me, eyes wet, voice shaking. "What if I lose? What if I take you down with me?" I did not answer right away. Instead, I reached into the desk drawer and pulled out a small velvet box I had been hiding there for weeks. Her eyes widened. "Keon," she whispered. "No." I opened it anyway. The ring was simple. Nothing flashy, strong, honest, like her. "I don't care what happens with the lawsuit," I said. "I don't care about the business or the money or the risk. I care about you. I want a life with you. Messy, hard, real." Her breath caught. "This is crazy," she said. "Probably," I replied. "But it's right." She laughed through tears, shaking her head. "You don't even know if I'll say yes." I smiled. "I do." She stood, pacing once, twice, hands pressed to her mouth. Then she stopped in front of me. "I've spent my whole life holding everything together," she said. "I don't know how to fall without breaking." I stood and took her hands. "Then don't fall," I said. "Stand with me." The silence stretched, heavy and full. "Yes," she said finally. "Yes, I'll marry you." The lawsuit dragged on for months. Some days were brutal. Some nights we lay awake, counting worries instead of sheep. But we faced it together. When the ruling finally came down in Eleanor's favor, we did not celebrate loudly. We went back to the shop, locked the door, and sat on the floor with our backs against the workbench. "We did it," she said quietly. "We did," I agreed. 8 months after she broke down on that roadside, we stood in a small courthouse with rain tapping softly against the windows. No crowd, no noise, just us. When the judge pronounced us married, Eleanor squeezed my hand and smiled up at me like she had found something she never expected to find. Later that night, back in the shop, she leaned against me, head on my shoulder. "You know," she said, "I never planned on any of this. Me neither. But I'm glad it happened the wrong way." I kissed the top of her head, breathing in oil, rain, and home. And for the first time in my life, I was not fixing something broken. I was building something whole. I didn't sleep that night, not because I was scared, but because every time I closed my eyes, I saw you exactly as you'd looked when you turned back at the door, like you wanted to say something but didn't trust your voice to survive it. Morning came too fast. The city outside my window was gray and restless, rain tapping the glass like impatient fingers. I stood there longer than I should have, coffee untouched, replaying every word we'd exchanged. The almost confessions, the pauses that felt louder than speech, the way my name sounded when you said it. Careful, like it mattered. I told myself to calm down. People don't fall into something real this fast. This was just connection, timing, coincidence. And yet, my chest didn't believe me. My phone buzzed around noon. Are you free today?" Just 5 words. No emojis. No explanation. My heart answered before my head could. Me, yes. You sent an address. No context. Just a pin on the map and one more message. I want to talk. Properly. I stared at the screen for a long moment, then typed and deleted 3 different replies before settling on, "Me? Okay. I'm on my way." The place you chose was quiet, a small cafe tucked between 2 old brick buildings, the kind of place people go to disappear for an hour. When I walked in, the smell of coffee and rain wrapped around me. You were already there. Same jacket, Same posture, same way of pretending to be relaxed while your foot tapped nervously against the floor. When you looked up and saw me, something in your face softened, like relief, like fear, like both at once. "Hey," you said, "hey." We stood there awkwardly for a second before sitting down across from each other. The table between us felt too small for how much was unspoken. We ordered drinks we barely touched. Silence settled, not uncomfortable, but heavy, waiting. Finally, you exhaled. I didn't plan what to say. I smiled faintly. Good. Neither did I. You laughed quietly, then looked down at your hands. I've been trying to convince myself that I'm overthinking this, that what I feel is just a moment. My breath caught. And you looked up then, really looked at me. I'm failing? The word landed softly but shook me. I don't do this, you continued. I don't open doors unless I'm sure what's on the other side, and with you, I don't know. I just know that walking away felt wrong. I swallowed. My voice came out quieter than I expected. It felt wrong for me too. Your jaw tightened, like you were holding back something bigger. There are reasons I should keep distance. So are there for me. You tilted your head. Then why are you here? I didn't hesitate, because I'd regret it if I wasn't. That was it. The moment the air changed, you reached across the table, not touching me, just close enough that I could feel the warmth of your hand. I'm scared, you admitted. Not of you, of how quickly this feels. Important. I let myself be honest. Me too. The rain outside grew heavier, drumming against the windows like the world was urging us on. We talked then, really talked, about past heartbreaks, about mistakes that taught us what we couldn't survive again, about how trust doesn't disappear, it just gets quieter. At some point, without realizing when, your hand covered mine. I didn't pull away. Electricity rushed through me, not dramatic, not overwhelming, just deeply real, like something clicking into place. I don't want to rush, you said softly, but I don't want to pretend this is nothing. My thumb brushed your knuckles. Then let it be something, slowly. Your smile then was small but genuine. I can do slowly. We walked out together later, rain still falling, shoulders brushing under the narrow awning. At the corner we stopped. This time, neither of us rushed to leave. I'm glad you came, you said. So am I. There was a pause, one of those moments where time seems to hold its breath. You leaned in, not for a kiss, but close enough that your forehead rested gently against mine. I don't know where this goes, you murmured. I closed my eyes. We don't have to know yet. You nodded, then stepped back reluctantly. Text me when you get home. I will. As you walked away, I realized something terrifying and beautiful all at once. This wasn't a spark anymore. It was a quiet, steady flame. And for the first time in a long while, I wasn't afraid of getting burned. I texted you the moment I got home. I'm back. Still thinking about today. The reply came almost instantly. You. Good. Because I haven't stopped either. I smiled at my phone like an idiot, then set it face down on the table as if that might calm my heart. It didn't. Nothing did. That night felt different. Not loud or dramatic, just full. Like something had finally settled, instead of chasing me. Days passed, slowly and quickly at the same time. We didn't rush. You kept your word about slowly, but slowly didn't mean distant. It meant good morning texts that weren't forced. It meant checking in without reasons. It meant conversations that drifted from silly to deep without warning. Sometimes we talked about nothing. Sometimes we talked about everything. And sometimes there were pauses, comfortable ones. One evening, you asked if I wanted to walk by the river. No big plan, no expectations. Just a walk. The sky was painted soft orange and purple when we met. You walked beside me, close but not touching, hands brushing now and then like they were learning the shape of each other. I like this, you said suddenly. What? I asked. This pace. You don't try to pull me forward. You don't push me back. I looked at you. You don't disappear when things get real. You smiled at that. A real smile. The kind that doesn't need guarding. We stopped near the water, city lights trembling on the surface. The wind was cold, but neither of us moved away. I've been thinking, you said, about what scares me. And, I asked gently, I think I'm not afraid of getting hurt anymore. You turned to me. I'm afraid of missing out on something that feels like this. My chest tightened. Then don't miss it. You reached for my hand this time, fully, confidently, fingers intertwining like they'd always known where to go.
I won't, you said.
That was when you kissed me. Not rushed. Not hesitant. Just honest. Soft at first, then deeper, like the kiss itself was a promise neither of us needed to say out loud. The world didn't stop spinning, but for a second, it didn't matter if it did. When we pulled back, you rested your forehead against mine, breathing me in. This feels right, you whispered.
I believed you.
Weeks later, I realized something important. Love doesn't always arrive like a storm. Sometimes it comes like a quiet evening, a shared walk, a hand reaching for yours without fear. With you, I learned that safety can be exciting, that choosing someone doesn't have to feel like losing yourself, that the best stories aren't the loudest ones, but the truest. We didn't promise forever that night. We promise now, and we showed up for it. Every day after that, in small ways, in honest ways, and somehow, that was everything.